Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and yes, you read the title of what I'm reviewing, and as I teased in the last review video earlier today, I'm of course reviewing, and in celebration of its anniversary, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Yes. You know, honestly, I think this film is not that bad. Directed by Timur Bekmambetov, if I'm saying his last name right, and produced by, one of my favorite directors, Tim Burton. Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Story. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, discovers vampires are planning to take over the United States. He makes it his mission to eliminate them. Yep, because especially in his childhood days, experiencing and witnessing vampire stuff, and one of the vampires kills his mother, even years later, and even after his father dies, what he does next in his life, and to seek out and find the one who killed his, the one who killed his mother, and, he kind of almost kills him, kind of killing him in, getting him and firing at him in the eyes, and that's when, fellow vampire, Henry Sturgis, if I'm saying the last name right, played by Dominic Cooper, he helps out Lincoln, and even he trains Lincoln, and Lincoln, he uses the axe as his weapon to defeat the vampires. And the other characters in this, on the subject of the characters, Benjamin Walker as Abraham Lincoln, I thought he was a pretty good Abraham Lincoln. I enjoyed his Lincoln. He pulled off a good likeness from, say, a young Lincoln to the Lincoln as we all know, the beard and the hair and the hat, of course. Also, there was Adam, one of the vampires, played by Rufus Sewell. Adam, that's the character's name, and an old friend of Lincoln's, who we would see a little bit later on in the film, Will Johnson, played by Anthony Mackie, and this was a couple years before he became the Falcon, and then the next Captain America. So it's true, And then Abraham Lincoln's wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She was pretty good as Mary. I think she was. And other characters, Jack Bartz, played by Martin Sokois, if I'm saying the last name right. And Jimmy Simpson, he plays Joshua Speed, another friend of Lincoln's, who I think at one point Henry tells Lincoln that Speed betrayed Lincoln, but I think a little bit later on he was probably redeemed or something. I mean, I really didn't quite really understood that, but, I didn't quite pay attention to that part, but I obviously, he helped out, I guess, in the end, and he sacrificed himself. And also, Lincoln's parents, Thomas Lincoln and Nancy Lincoln. Nancy was played by Robin McLeavy, and Thomas played by Joseph Mall, if I'm saying that right, last name right. And one of the other vampires, who's in this a lot, Vidama, yeah, I think I got that right, played by Aaron Wasson. And also Willie Lincoln, Abraham and Mary's son, played by Cameron M. Brown, because at one point, and even when Lincoln becomes president and they have a child, and, Willie, because he's playing with his toys, Vidama, who's in disguise as one of the maids, comes in Willie's room and kind of interacts with him and plays with him, but then that's when she bites him, and that's just, I kind of almost forgot about that, and basically, later on, Willie dies, and it's quite sad, and even Lincoln was hiding this from his wife, Mary, about the whole thing of vampires. Well, he told her at first, but obviously, Mary did laugh and humorous or something, didn't really take it seriously, but of course, she does, and when she finds out, and from Abraham's journal, even say we get to know about Henry Sturg's backstory, that he wasn't a vampire before. He was turned into a vampire when the love of his life was killed from his very own eyes, what he saw. And he tried to kill the vampire that killed his beloved, and he couldn't because vampires can't kill each other, can't kill, other vampires, their own relatives, you name it, their own kind, basically. And it's kind of cool that, it's kind of nice, and that, this film does have some funny stuff. I laughed at some stuff, like, not to mention, after Abraham was saved by Henry, and Abraham, he wakes up and he hears some screaming in another room, and he takes, like, I guess a candle lamp or whatever, like a candle handle. You get my point. Candle handle. That's something, you know what I'm talking about. He walks in and he sees Henry and some other girl. They're having sex in the bathtub, and yeah, Abraham thought that, there was trouble going on or something, but, obviously not. That was pretty funny. The music I thought was okay too. I didn't really quite pay attention to the music that much, just saying, it was fine. What would have really been cool? Who would have done the music for this film? Danny Elfman. And okay, even though Tim Burton didn't direct this, he still produced this. I'm just saying. Some stuff that I thought were pretty cool, and, especially one part where it's like, okay, it is cool, but about Abraham, like, okay, I'll go ahead and talk about it since I'm, there's one part where I think, yeah, it's one of the vampires. I think it's Adam, yeah. Lincoln is chasing Adam, while horses are riding. It's a stampede, basically, and, the vampire is hopping on the horses, jumping on them, getting away from Abraham, while Abraham is doing the same thing. He's hopping and jumping on the horses. Could somebody really do that? Like, an actual person could do that? Like, okay, for a vampire, okay, he's a vampire, I can understand, but for an actual, like, human being doing that, like, I don't know, maybe, who knows? Also, like, I'm trying to remember, like, oh yeah, because they visit they're at New Orleans, and that's when, like, yeah, because Will Johnson was kidnapped, and Abraham and Speed, they go out to New Orleans to save Will, and the vampires, like, the leader of the vampires gives the whole backstory to Abraham, and it's interesting because, okay, oh yeah, another thing, I was almost about to talk about the ending, but not to go immediately to the ending, like, another cool sequence in the film, of course, was the train sequence, and with the metals, silver, like, that's, like, allergic, that vampires are allergic to that stuff, and even say, they use it on the vampires to kill them, and it was really cool. And even a couple of times where, yeah, like, Abraham was almost about to be bitten and become a vampire. And you know what? Even Henry, suggested to Abraham, why not live immortal? You know what I'm saying? But Abraham just, what he says to him, makes sense, and also, like, in the film, like, Abraham giving his famous speeches. And, of course, 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation. Of course, the ending to the film, now that we've come up to it, like, of course, it leads to when Abraham and Mary, they're on their way to the theater. And when Abraham gets shot by John Wilkes Booth. Yeah, and just the way it ends, and, like, as they're riding off into on a coach, and, like, it fades to, like, today, and we see a helicopter landing, and Henry, of course, he's a vampire, he's still around, and I think he's interacting with another president of our time, like, and since like in, the early 2010s, probably, I think he's interacting with another president. And I guess the whole thing starts over again, I guess, but this time with a new president? Probably, but yeah, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, I think is a pretty good film. In fact, the first time I watched this, actually, that goes for both me and my mom, the first time we watched it together, I think it was our first time seeing this movie, we thought it was pretty good. We actually liked this, and yeah, that this also came from my mom as well. And how do I rate Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter? That's a good question. I'd say probably, since I thought it was pretty good, I'll give it a, yeah, 8 out of 10 stars. I thought it was pretty good, and, I'm sure that there are those that do like this. And yes, I know that this film didn't really do so good when it came out, and even at the box office, but again, like I said, there are those that actually do like this film, and people like me. So and of course, this movie has its haters. Of course, there's no denying that. But anyways, and what about you guys? What do you think of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter? And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review a like as always. So again, with that being said, 8 out of 10 stars for Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. More reviews coming your way. They're gonna be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video/review. Take care, and peace out, and happy anniversary, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.